Sarah stood outside the big city bank. The glass doors were tall and shiny. People walked in and out wearing suits and expensive watches. She looked down at her old shoes. They had small holes. Her hands held a brown envelope. Inside it were papers, her dream, her business plan. She took a deep breath and walked in. The bank was cold and quiet. Everyone seemed busy. No one smiled. Sarah walked up to the front desk. "Hello," she said softly. "I want to speak to the manager about a loan." The woman at the desk looked at her from head to toe. Her smile was fake. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," Sarah replied, "but I have my documents. I've worked on a business plan. I just need a chance." The woman rolled her eyes. "Wait over there." Sarah sat on a metal chair. People stared. Some whispered. Her clothes were clean, but very simple. Her hair was tied in a rough ponytail. She looked like she didn't belong there. After 20 minutes, a man in a gray suit came out. He was tall, with shiny shoes, and a gold pen in his pocket. "I'm Mr. Kamal," he said. "Come with me." Sarah followed him to a glass office. She sat across from him and carefully placed her envelope on the table. "This is my plan," she said. "I want to open a small tailoring shop. I already have some customers. I just need a small loan to buy better machines and cloth." Kamal opened the envelope and looked at the papers for a few seconds. Then he smiled, but not kindly. "You think this is enough?" he asked. "No money in the bank, no property, no job history. How will you pay back the loan?" Sarah looked down. "I have skill. I stitched clothes for 5 years. People trust my work." He laughed. "You don't understand how business works," he said loudly. "This is not a charity. We don't give loans to people like you." "People like me?" Sarah asked, her voice shaking. "Yes," he said. "No education, no money, no background. You are not ready for the business world. This is a bank, not a tea stall." Sarah felt her face burn. She looked outside. Some staff had gathered and were watching. A few of them were smiling, whispering. "I didn't ask for free money," she said softly. "I just asked for a chance." Kamal leaned back in his chair. "Let me give you some advice. Go find a real job. Stitching clothes at home is not a business. Grow up." Tears filled Sarah's eyes, but she did not let them fall. She stood up slowly, picked up her envelope, and said nothing. As she turned to leave, she heard one of the staff near the door say, "What a joke. She really thought they'd give her a loan." Everyone laughed. Sarah walked out of the bank. Her steps were slow, her chest heavy. She stopped near the gate and looked back at the tall building. People passed by, busy with their lives. No one noticed the girl standing alone, with a broken heart and a crushed dream. She wiped her eyes. Then she looked up at the sky. The sun was still shining. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was clear. "One day," she whispered, "I'll own something bigger than this bank. And then, they'll know who I am." She walked away, not broken, not finished, just quiet and burning inside. Sarah walked through the crowded city streets. Cars passed by, honking loudly. People were busy, moving fast, chasing time. But she walked slowly, her mind full of pain. The words from the bank still echoed in her ears. "This is not a charity. People like you don't belong here. Grow up." She reached her small rented room in a poor area of the city. The building was old. The walls had cracks. The room was so small that only a bed, a table, and a stove could fit inside. She closed the door and sat on the floor. She had no energy to cry. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since morning. She opened a tin box. Only 3 slices of dry bread were left. She ate them slowly, thinking about her family in the village. They had sent her to the city with hope. Hope that she would change her life. "I can't go back like this," she whispered to herself. "I must fight." That night, she couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling and thought of her dream. The small tailoring shop, the women she wanted to hire, the handmade clothes she wanted to sell. But dreams need money, and she had none. The struggle begins. Next morning, Sarah made a decision. If no one would help her, she would help herself. She took her sewing machine from under the bed. It was old, but it still worked. She put up a small handwritten sign outside her building. Skilled tailoring. Cheap and fast. Women only. At first, no one came. Days passed. Some people laughed at her. Others ignored her. Still, she woke up early every day, cleaned her machine, and waited. Then one afternoon, an old lady from the neighborhood came. Her blouse was torn. She asked if Sarah could fix it. Sarah smiled. Of course. She didn't charge money, just asked for a good word. The next day, 2 more women came. Then 5. Soon, her evenings were busy with stitching and sewing. She worked till midnight, fingers aching, eyes tired, but her heart was strong. The hard days, but life was still hard. There were days when she had no electricity. She stitched by candlelight. Some nights, rats ran across her floor while she worked. Sometimes, customers didn't pay on time. Once, a neighbor shouted, "Go back to your village. This city is not for beggars." Sarah didn't reply. She just shut her door and cried silently. She often skipped meals to save money for thread, cloth, and buttons. Yet every night, before sleeping, she wrote in her small notebook, "Today, I stitched 3 dresses, earned 150 rupees, saved 50 rupees for the shop." It was not much, but it was something. The unexpected meeting. One rainy evening, while Sarah was returning from the market, she saw an old woman sitting outside a small shop, trying to cover her clothes from the rain. Sarah ran and gave her a piece of plastic. "Thank you, child," the woman said kindly. "You're not from here, are you?" "No, Auntie," Sarah replied. "I came from the village to start a business." The old woman looked surprised. "A business? At this age?" Sarah smiled. "Yes, I want to help other women like me. I want to build something good." The old woman laughed gently. "You remind me of myself when I was young." They sat and talked for a long time. The woman's name was Rehanna Bibi. She used to sell handmade clothes, but had stopped because her sons moved away. Sarah offered to help her set up her online store. She didn't ask for money, just knowledge. In return, Rehanna gave her a gift. Ours, 5,000. Sarah was shocked. "I can't take this," she said. "It's not charity," Rehanna said. "It's an investment in your fire." The turning point. With that money, Sarah bought better cloth, thread, and tools. She even bought a used smartphone. She started taking pictures of her work and shared them in WhatsApp groups and local women's forums. Orders started coming in. Now she was not just stitching. She was designing. She stitched unique patterns, colorful designs, and named them Sarah styles. Women began to love her work. She saved every rupee. No shopping, no fun, only focus. End scene. The promise lives on. One night, after finishing a large order, Sarah sat at her table, counting her money. Her hands were tired, but her eyes were full of light. She opened her notebook again. She turned to the first page where she had once written, "They laughed at me. They said I don't belong. One day, they will know my name." She touched those lines, then wrote below them, "I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way." She looked out her small window. The stars were shining. Morning sunlight entered Sarah's tiny room through the torn curtain. Her sewing machine sat near the window, quiet for now. But soon, it would start its daily song of hard work. Sarah sat with her notebook, planning her day. She had 3 dresses to stitch, a delivery to make, and cloth to buy. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Rehanna Bibi. "Come to the shop today. Someone wants to meet you." Sarah quickly got ready and walked to the small shop where Rihanna sold clothes. It was an old wooden place, but clean and neat. Rihanna was already waiting outside. Inside, a young woman in her 20s stood looking at the clothes. She wore a formal suit and carried a tablet in her hand. "This is the girl I told you about," Rihanna said proudly. "Sarah, meet Aisha. She works for an online shopping platform." Aisha smiled. "Rihanna auntie showed me the designs you stitched. Very good quality. Very unique. We're looking for women entrepreneurs to support." Sarah blinked. "Entrepreneurs?" "Yes," Aisha said. "You have a brand. We can help you sell online, across the country. Are you interested?" Sarah's hands shook slightly. I don't have a shop. Or big machines." "That's okay," Aisha replied. "Many start small. What matters is your skill and your story. You have both." A new door opens. That evening, Aisha helped Sarah make her first online seller account. They clicked pictures of her best work, added prices, wrote short descriptions, and posted everything. Sarah couldn't believe it. In just 2 days, she received her first order. 3 dresses, 1 customer. Ours, 2,400. She danced in her room with joy. She stitched late into the night, humming softly. More orders followed. Some small, some big. People started giving good reviews. Beautiful design. Good quality. Fast delivery. Sarah knew this was just the beginning. Building a brand. She named her online shop Sarah's Stitch and Style and designed a small handwritten logo. As orders increased, she could not handle everything alone. She remembered the promise she made to herself. "I will help other women like me." So she visited nearby homes, looking for women who knew basic stitching. She found 3. Nazia, a widow with 2 children. Fariha, who dropped out of school to take care of her family. Ruxana, whose husband was jobless. Sarah trained them in her tiny room. She didn't pay much at first, but she promised growth. They became a team. Challenges still came, but success didn't come without new problems. One customer returned an order and left a bad review. Courier services delayed deliveries. Sometimes cloth went out of stock. One day, a large order of 50 dresses came from another city. Sarah took it and panicked. "Can we do it?" Nazia asked. "We have to," Sarah said. "This is our big test." For 10 days, they worked like machines. They ate together, laughed, cried, and kept going. On the 10th day, they packed the last dress. Sarah looked at the boxes stacked in the corner. She smiled, not because the job was done, but because it proved something. They could handle anything. Surprise visitor. A week later, Sarah was stitching a sleeve when someone knocked on her door. It was Aisha again. But this time, she wasn't alone. A man in a formal suit stood beside her. "This is Mr. Rahim," Aisha said. "He runs a business fund for women-led startups. He wants to invest in your brand." Sarah's eyes widened. "Invest?" "Yes," Mr. Rahim said. "You've built something powerful with nothing but heart and hands. We want to help you grow." He offered her ours. 2 lakh as a small business investment. No pressure, no tricks, just support. Sarah couldn't believe it. She looked around her room, at the women working, at the notebook filled with dreams, and then at Mr. Rahim. "Yes," she said softly. "I'm ready." End scene. A glimpse of the future. 2 months later, Sarah rented a bigger workspace, 1 full room, with windows, fans, and light. She placed her mother's photo on the wall and whispered, "Look, Amy, I'm not rich yet, but I'm rising." She bought 3 new sewing machines, hired 2 more women, and printed her brand name on fabric tags. Sarah's Stitch and Style. Made with heart. One evening, she sat on her new office chair, holding her first official invoice. She smiled and wrote in her notebook, "We were once laughed at. Now, they're wearing our designs. This is not the end. This is just the lucky break. 6 months passed. Sarah was no longer working in a dark corner of a tiny room. Now she had a bright, open workspace with 6 sewing machines, shelves full of colorful cloth, and a whiteboard showing daily tasks. Her brand, Sarah's Stitch and Style, had become popular on social media. People followed her page, liked her posts, and shared her designs. Every day, orders came from new cities. Some customers asked for special dresses for weddings. Others wanted matching clothes for mother and daughter. Sarah was always busy, but she smiled more now. The girl who once sat outside a bank with broken dreams was now the boss of her own business. A proud team. Nazia, Fariha, Roxana, and the others had become like family. They laughed, worked hard, and supported each other. Sarah treated them with love and respect. She gave them bonuses when business was good. She even started small savings accounts for each woman, teaching them how to manage money. One day, Fariha came to her crying. "What happened?" Sarah asked. "My younger sister," Fariha said. "She wants to study again, but I didn't know how I could help her, until now." Sarah hugged her. "You're not just helping her. You're changing her future." The women felt proud. They were no longer poor housewives or ignored workers. They were designers, makers, builders. The award nomination. One morning, Sarah got an unexpected email. "Congratulations, you've been nominated for the Women Rising Business Award 2025. She blinked at the screen. An award. For her. Aisha called her the same day. "You deserve it," she said. "Your story is inspiring. You started with nothing, and now your brand is everywhere. This is your time." The award ceremony was in a 5-star hotel, a world Sarah had never entered before. She was nervous. What would she wear? What would she say if she won? But the team helped her pick a dress. Rihanna Bibi gave her an old silver necklace. "Wear this," she said, "for luck." Sarah smiled. "For courage," she replied. The ceremony. The hall was grand. Golden lights, red carpet, and people in fancy clothes. Sarah felt small for a moment. But when her name was called, and she walked to the stage, the room clapped loudly. From a village girl with a sewing machine, the announcer said, to a businesswoman changing lives, "Give it up for Sarah Naz, founder of Sarah's Stitch and Style." Sarah took the mic with shaking hands. "I was once told I didn't belong in the business world," she said. "But I believed in my hands, in my team, in second chances. This award is not just mine. It belongs to every woman who was told you can't. We can. We did. And we will." The audience stood up and clapped again. The old name returns. 3 days later, Sarah received a formal letter. It had a name she hadn't seen in a long time. Elite Capital Bank. The same bank that once humiliated her. She read the letter slowly. "Dear Ms. Naz, we recently came across your award-winning business and would like to invite you for a possible partnership and investment plan. Please meet our senior manager, Mr. Kamal." Mr. Kamal. Sarah's eyes narrowed. The name hit her like a cold wind. She remembered his voice, his laugh, his words. This is not a tea stall. Now he wanted a meeting. She folded the letter and put it aside. She wasn't angry. She was just quiet. A difficult decision. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. Her team deserved more machines, a bigger space, a delivery van. All of that needed investment. But could she trust the same people who once laughed at her dreams? She spoke to Rihanna the next morning. "You can go," Rihanna said gently, "but go as who you are now, not who you were that day." Sarah nodded. "I won't go to ask for help. I'll go to show them who I've become." End scene. Preparing to face the past. Sarah dressed in a simple but elegant outfit. She pinned the silver necklace on again. Her team watched her leave. They didn't know the full story, but they knew this meeting meant something big. As she walked out, she looked at her shop sign one more time. Sarah's Stitch and Style, made with heart. She smiled, not with pride, but with peace. She was not the scared girl with an envelope anymore. She was a woman with power, a leader, and she was going back, not to beg, but to rise higher. Sarah stood in front of the large glass building. The words Elite Capital Bank were written in shining silver letters. She had seen those words before, on the worst day of her life. That day, they laughed at her. That day, they broke her. But she didn't stay broken. Today, she was not here to ask for help. Today, she was the one holding power. She took a deep breath, fixed her scarf, and walked in. The same walls, a new woman. The inside of the bank looked just like before. Cold, bright lights, soft carpet, and the quiet hum of machines. But this time, Sarah didn't feel nervous. She walked straight to the front desk. The woman behind the counter smiled politely. "Good morning. How can I help you?" Sarah replied calmly. "I have a meeting with Mr. Kamal. He's expecting me." The woman checked the computer. "Yes, ma'am. Please take the elevator to the 7th floor." Sarah nodded and walked toward the lift. She remembered how she had once stood here, holding a file in shaking hands. Now she was walking tall, with confidence in every step. The meeting room. The 7th floor was quiet and elegant. A man in a gray suit stood near the window. It was Mr. Kamal. He turned around and smiled as Sarah entered. "Ah, Miss Sarah Naz. It's good to finally meet you in person. Please, have a seat." Sarah sat down without a word. Mr. Kamal opened a file. "Your business has grown fast. Very impressive. You've built a strong brand. We believe your company could expand even more with the right support." Sarah looked at him carefully. He didn't recognize her. She said nothing, waiting for him to continue. "We are offering you a partnership deal," he said. "You will get investment, more exposure, and even a possible retail outlet. In return, we will own 30% of your business." Sarah raised one eyebrow. 30% is a lot. He smiled confidently. "We're not just offering money. We're offering our name, our reputation." Sarah leaned forward slowly. "I remember your name. And your reputation," she said calmly. "Very well." Mr. Kamal looked confused. "Have we met before?" Sarah's voice was soft, but sharp like a knife. "Yes. 2 years ago. Right here. I came to this bank asking for a small loan to start my business." His face changed slightly. "I meet many people." "You laughed at me," she interrupted. "You told me people like me don't belong in the business world, that I should go home and grow up." Mr. Kamal looked uncomfortable. "I didn't mean." "You did," Sarah said firmly. "But thank you. That day, your rejection gave me the fire to build something on my own. Without your help, without your money. Power has shifted." The room went quiet. Mr. Kamal cleared his throat. "Miss Sarah, I was just doing my job. We have rules, processes. But now we want to work with you. That means something, doesn't it?" Sarah smiled slightly. "Yes, it means something. It means now you need me, not the other way around." He blinked. She continued, "My business is doing well. My team is growing. My brand is trusted. I didn't need your approval to rise, and I don't need it now." Mr. Kamal tried to change his tone. "We're offering you a real chance to grow further." Sarah stood up. "I'm already growing. Not because of your money, but because of the people who believed in me when you didn't." She took a deep breath. "I came here today not to sign a deal, but to show you the result of the dream you once laughed at." She walked to the door, turned, and added, "Next time a woman walks into this bank with a dream, don't crush it." Then she left. Back to the heart. Sarah stepped out into the sunlight, feeling light and free. She had faced the place that once broke her, and she didn't just survive. She won. Her phone buzzed. It was a voice message from Roxana. Baji, we finished the bridal order. The client said she cried tears of joy when she saw the dress. Sarah smiled. This was real success. Not sitting in a glass office. Not fancy titles, but making people happy, changing lives, and staying true to yourself. The big surprise. That evening, when Sarah returned to the shop, the team had decorated the room with balloons. "What's going on?" she asked, surprised. Nazia stepped forward with a cake. "1 year ago today, you gave us jobs. You gave us hope. We didn't forget." Sarah looked around. There were tears in her eyes. She cut the cake, and they all clapped. Fariha handed her a gift, a framed photo of the team, with the words, "Boss Lady, who turned pain into power." Sarah held the frame close to her heart. She whispered, "I may not wear a crown, but this is what royalty feels like." Sarah sat by the window of her office, looking at the busy street below. Cars moved like little toys, people rushed by with bags and phones, and life didn't stop, not even for a second. But inside her heart, something was stirring. A bigger idea, a louder dream. Her business was now stable. Her team was strong. Orders were flowing. They were making good money. But Sarah didn't just want to survive. She wanted to grow, to expand, to build an empire. She opened her notebook and wrote, "What's next?" The new dream. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about something Aisha once told her. "You have a brand, Sarah. Now make it a movement." The next morning, she gathered her team. "I want to open our first physical store," she announced. "A real showroom, where customers can walk in, try our designs, and meet the women behind the work." Everyone went silent. "Like a boutique?" Nazia asked. "Yes," Sarah nodded. "In the city center, where rich people shop, where we'll stand proudly like any other top designer." Ruxana looked unsure. "Won't that be very expensive?" "Yes," Sarah said. "Very, but nothing big comes without risk." The room filled with mixed emotions, fear, excitement, doubt, and hope. Sarah saw it all and smiled. "We started in one room," she reminded them, "and look where we are now." Finding the perfect spot. Over the next 2 weeks, Sarah and Aisha visited different buildings. Some were too small, others too old. Some were perfect, but way too costly. Finally, they found it. A corner shop on a busy street. Big glass windows, polished floor, and lots of foot traffic. The rent was high, very high, but Sarah felt it in her heart. "This is it," she said. Aisha warned her, "It's risky. If sales drop, rent will eat your profits." "I know," Sarah replied, "but we'll make it work." Pressure builds. With the new store came a new kind of pressure. Sarah needed more stock, more designs, more money. She had to deal with builders, electricians, marketing teams, and 100 little problems every day. Sometimes she forgot to eat. She barely slept. Her hands hurt again, not from stitching, but from stress. Her team saw the change. "Are you okay, Baji?" Fariha asked one night. Sarah gave a tired smile. "I will be. Just need to get through this month." They believed in her, but they were worried. The first bad month. The store opened with lights, flowers, and a soft launch event. Customers came, took photos, and said nice things. But sales were slow. People liked the designs but said things like, "Too expensive. Do you have a branch in a mall? We'll order online." A whole week passed with almost no sales. The rent bill arrived. It was big, too big. Sarah stared at the numbers in silence. Her hands shook a little. "Did I make a mistake?" she whispered to herself. She had taken money from her savings. She had delayed her own payments to pay workers first. She didn't want them to feel the stress. But inside, she was sinking. Temptation knocks again. One evening, she received a call from a famous fashion company. They wanted to buy her brand. Yes, "We've seen your work," the voice on the phone said. "We'll pay you a handsome amount. You can stay on as head designer, but we'll handle the business side." Sarah didn't answer immediately. The offer was tempting. No more stress. No more bills. Just design and relax. She sat alone that night, looking at the photo frame her team had gifted her. Boss lady, who turned pain into power. Tears welled up in her eyes. She remembered her mother's words. "Beta, don't let the world take your light. Keep it burning." A powerful decision. The next morning, she called the company back. "Thank you," she said, "but no." "You sure? You could be set for life." "I'm already living my dream," Sarah replied. "Even if it's hard, it's mine." She hung up and stood tall. That day, she called a team meeting. "No more fear," she said. "We are not slowing down. We're leveling up." She created a new plan: cheaper collections, better marketing, seasonal offers, and workshops in-store to attract walk-ins. Slowly, things changed. A famous actress ordered a dress. A blogger posted a video about their story. Sales picked up again. A note from a stranger. One morning, Sarah found an envelope on her office desk. It had no name, just a note inside. It read, "You don't know me, but I saw you speak at the award show. I was going to end my life that night. I thought I had no future. But your words, they gave me hope. Thank you for existing." Sarah clutched the letter to her chest. This was the reason she kept going. End scene. The bigger picture. Sarah stood in her store, watching customers browse. Her workers laughed in the background, folding clothes and helping clients. She touched the wall, feeling its strength. This place wasn't just brick and paint. It was built with tears, hope, and dreams. She looked up and whispered, "Amy, we made it." A soft winter wind blew through the city as Sarah stood by the large window of her showroom. Outside, people walked in jackets and shawls, carrying shopping bags and cups of tea. Inside, her store was full. Customers browsed colorful dresses, tried on outfits, and took selfies under a sign that said, "Wear your worth." Sarah had changed the sign last month, because her business was never just about clothes. It was about value, respect, second chances. She looked around. Her team was busy, confident, smiling, full of pride. Every woman here had her own story, her own pain, her own rise. And today, they were part of something much bigger, an unexpected invitation. That evening, Sarah received a letter. It came in a gold envelope with the national emblem at the top. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. It was from the National Women's Chamber of Commerce. "We are proud to announce that Ms. Sarah Nas has been selected as the keynote speaker for this year's National Businesswomen Summit. We invite her to share her story with young entrepreneurs and business leaders from across the country." Her breath caught. She read the letter again, just to be sure. Aisha came running into the room. "You got it, didn't you?" she asked. Sarah nodded, still stunned. Aisha hugged her tight. "They want to hear your voice, Sarah. The same voice someone once laughed at." The big day. The event was held in the Grand National Auditorium. Hundreds of people had gathered. CEOs, ministers, students, and journalists. The stage was decorated with lights, screens, and the flag of the country. Sarah wore a simple but elegant dress. Her silver necklace, the one Rehanna Bibi had given her, rested softly on her neck. As she stood backstage, her heart beat faster. She remembered that day, standing outside the bank, clutching a broken file, feeling small and unwanted. And now she was about to address the whole nation. The speech that moved hearts. When her name was called, the hall echoed with applause. She stepped onto the stage, took a deep breath, and began. 2 years ago, I stood in front of a bank and was told I was not fit for business. I walked away that day, not just with rejection, but with fire in my heart. I had no rich father, no business degree, just a sewing machine, an old phone, and a dream. Today, I stand here with a team of women who were once invisible, forgotten, and told they were less. We proved them wrong. With every stitch, every dress, and every day we refuse to give up. My message is simple. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need approval to be powerful. You are enough, as you are. Don't wait for the world to open the door. Build your own door. Then walk through it, proudly. As she ended, the room went silent for a moment, and then rose in standing ovation. People clapped, cheered, and wiped their eyes. Sarah bowed her head, not with pride, but with deep, grateful peace. Backstage surprise. As Sarah stepped off the stage, a familiar face appeared near the curtain. It was Mr. Kamal, the same man who once told her to grow up. He stood awkwardly, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Sarah," he said, his voice softer now. I saw your speech. You were brilliant. Truly." Sarah looked at him, calm and strong. "I hope you treat the next woman who walks into your bank better," she said. He nodded. "I already started. Because of you." She gave a small, kind smile and walked past him. She didn't need revenge. She had victory. The final celebration. That night, back at the shop, her team had planned a surprise. There were fairy lights, a home-cooked dinner, and a cake that read, "To our queen, you didn't just rise, you lifted us all." Rihanna Bibi gave a speech with tears in her eyes. "We were lost," she said. "Then you found us. You didn't just give us jobs. You gave us names, and strength, and pride." Sarah tried to hold back tears, but they came anyway. She looked at every woman in the room, once broken, now shining. Then she said, "You didn't just follow me. You stood beside me. We built this together." They held hands, laughed, cried, and promised to go even higher. Full circle. 1 week later, Sarah walked past the old bank again. She stopped for a moment, looked at the glass doors, the same place where it had all started. Then she turned away with a smile, because she didn't need to go back anymore. She had already gone full circle. Final and ESSAG. Sarah's journey wasn't just a story about clothes or business. It was a story about dignity, about believing in yourself when no one else does. And most of all, it was a story about how even one person, with the right courage, can change many lives. 1 year had passed since Sarah stood on that stage and gave the speech that shook hearts across the country. Much had changed. Her name had become a symbol of strength. Her face appeared in magazines. Her story was studied in business schools. Journalists called her the woman who stitched her way to power. But even with the fame and success, Sarah never left her roots. She still walked into the shop every morning with a smile. She still greeted her team like family. She still kept the silver necklace from Rihanna Bibi close to her heart. The dream grows bigger. The showroom was no longer just one shop. Sarah had opened 2 more branches, one in Lahore and one in Islamabad. But she was careful. Slow growth, strong foundation, no shortcuts. She also launched a free training center for women in poor communities. It was called Udan, Wings to Fly. There, young girls and women learned how to sew, design, market, and manage money. Most of them had no education. Some had never stepped out of their homes. Now, they walked in with fear and walked out with confidence. Stories within the story. One day, a shy girl named Sana joined Udan. Her hands shook when she picked up the needle. "I can't do this," she said. Sarah sat beside her and smiled. "I once said the same thing." Sana blinked. "You?" "Yes," Sarah replied. "But then I tried. And tried again. And slowly the fear disappeared." 6 months later, Sana opened a small online shop with help from Sarah's team. She became one of many. One of the hundreds of women Sarah had helped rise. The woman from the past. One afternoon, as Sarah finished a workshop session, A woman stood quietly outside the door. She wore an old shawl and looked unsure. Sarah walked over. "Assalamu alaikum. Can I help you?" The woman looked up with teary eyes. You may not remember me," she said. "I worked as a junior officer at the bank, the day you came for the loan." Sarah looked closely. The face was older now, but the voice. "Yes," Sarah said softly. "I laughed that day," the woman whispered. "I'm so sorry. I was just following everyone else." Sarah didn't reply for a moment. Then she gently held the woman's hand. "We all have moments we regret," she said, "but we can still choose to grow." The woman began to cry. Sarah hugged her. Forgiveness, healing, growth. That was the legacy she wanted to build. National recognition. One morning, Sarah was invited to the presidential house for a national award. The letter said, "For your service to women, for your courage in business, and for lifting others while you rose." She wore a plain white dress that day. Simple, elegant. As she received the medal, flash bulbs went off. Cameras clicked. People clapped. But in her heart, all she could hear was her mother's voice. "Beta, never forget who you are." A new beginning. Months later, something unexpected happened. Sarah received an email from an international NGO. They had watched her interviews, read her story, and seen her training center. "We would like to sponsor your model across South Asia. We believe you can help thousands of women." Sarah was stunned. She called Aisha. "They want to take Udon to other countries." Aisha laughed with joy. "From one sewing machine to global training centers." "You did it, Baji." Sarah shook her head with a smile. "We did it. Back to the roots." One evening, Sarah visited her childhood neighborhood. The streets were smaller than she remembered, but the smells, the sounds, they were the same. She stopped near a small tea shop where she once dreamed with Aisha, sitting on plastic chairs and sketching dress ideas on napkins. A group of little girls ran by, playing with sticks and laughing loudly. One of them stopped and looked up. "Aren't you that lady from TV?" she asked. Sarah knelt down. "Maybe. What do you want to be when you grow up?" The girl replied, "I want to be like you." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She reached into her bag, pulled out a little cloth notebook, and gave it to the girl. "Start writing your dream in here," she said. "Then one day, live it." The legacy begins. Sarah didn't need applause anymore. She didn't need awards or headlines. She had something bigger, a legacy. She had created a world where women once forgotten now stood tall, where broken dreams were stitched back together with hope, where every girl who once felt not enough now saw herself in Sarah's story and believed.